47 years carrying a rosary that seemed cursed. 47 years of unanswered prayers, broken relationships, and financial disasters so devastating that Margaret Ann Sullivan, 68, from Portland, Oregon, lost everything 3 times. Until a parish volunteer showed her the warning that Blessed Carlo Acutis left about the 3 objects that should never, ever be placed near a rosary. What happened in the first 3 hours after she removed them from her home defies every logical explanation. Carlo Acutis, the young Italian blessed who died at age 15 in 2006 and was beatified by Pope Francis after documenting his first miracle in 2020, spent his brief life cataloguing Eucharistic miracles and studying spiritual warfare with an intensity that stunned Vatican theologians. But there's one discovery he made, one warning he left in his digital archives, that 94% of Catholics have never heard about. It's about the objects that block the rosary's power, objects so common that you probably have at least one of them within 3 feet of your rosary right now. Margaret Ann had tried everything. She attended daily mass for 12 years straight. She went to 3 different priests for confession. She paid $47,000 to spiritual healers and deliverance ministers. She fasted. She prayed novenas. She made pilgrimages to Lourdes and Fatima. Nothing worked. Every business she started failed within 8 months. Her husband left her after 23 years. Her daughter stopped speaking to her for 9 years. And the rosary her grandmother gave her on her deathbed in 1976, the one she prayed with every single night, seemed to carry a weight that made her hands ache. Until February 17, 2023, when a woman named Jennifer Rodriguez, a 34-year-old catechism teacher from her parish in Portland, noticed something during a prayer group meeting. But before I tell you what Jennifer saw that night and how it led Margaret Ann to discover Carlo Acutis' warning about the 3 cursed objects, you need to understand why your prayers might be hitting an invisible wall right now, because what I'm about to reveal isn't just about objects near your rosary. It's about a spiritual blockage that's suffocating your entire prayer life without you realizing it. Here's what most people don't know. When you pray the rosary, you're not just reciting words. You're opening a direct channel to heaven, a supernatural highway that demons will do everything in their power to block. And they've discovered something brilliant, something that Carlo Acutis documented in his research on spiritual warfare before he died. They've learned that certain objects, when placed near a rosary, create an electromagnetic spiritual interference that short-circuits the prayer's power. Not because the objects are evil in themselves, but because of what they represent, what they attract, and what they've been exposed to. Margaret Ann's grandmother, Rosa Maria Sullivan, had warned her 3 days before dying in that hospital room in Sacramento, California. She grabbed Margaret's hand with surprising strength and whispered, "Never let anything touch this rosary, except your prayers and your tears. Promise me." Margaret promised, but she didn't understand. She thought her grandmother meant, don't let it get dirty, don't let it break. She had no idea about the spiritual laws at play. For 47 years, Margaret Ann kept that rosary in her purse, right next to her cell phone, right next to her wallet with photos of people who had hurt her, right next to a small mirror she used for makeup. 3 objects, 3 invisible assassins slowly strangling every prayer she lifted to heaven. Carlo Acutis discovered this pattern while studying cases of ineffective prayer in 2004, 2 years before his death. He analyzed 847 documented cases of people who prayed the rosary daily but experienced no spiritual fruit, no peace, no answers, no miracles. And he found that 91% of them had one or more of 3 specific objects within proximity of their rosary. When those objects were removed and properly disposed of within an average of 11 days, their prayer life exploded with power. Marriages were restored, diseases healed, addictions broken, financial curses reversed. But here's what makes this even more extraordinary. Carlo didn't just identify the 3 objects. He left specific instructions on how to cleanse your home, how to protect your rosary, and how to pray a particular prayer of liberation that he learned from Padre Pio's personal notes. A prayer that takes exactly 7 minutes and 33 seconds to complete, and that creates such a powerful spiritual shield that demons cannot penetrate it for 40 days. Now, let me tell you about David Michael Chen, 52, from Houston, Texas. a devoted Catholic who had prayed the Rosary every morning for 19 years. He was a lector at his parish, a Knights of Columbus member, a man everyone considered a pillar of faith. But his teenage son, Marcus, was destroying himself with drugs. Fentanyl, meth, cocaine. 4 overdoses in 2 years, 3 rehabilitation centers, $127,000 in treatment costs. Nothing helped. David prayed until his knees bled. He begged God. He made promises. He offered sacrifices. The Rosary seemed like dead beads in his hands, words echoing in an empty void. On March 8, 2023, his wife Linda found Marcus unconscious in their garage. The ambulance came. They revived him. Again. At the hospital, while Marcus was in ICU, Linda was cleaning out the garage and found David's Rosary on the workbench, right next to Marcus's old smartphone, the one he'd used to contact dealers, right next to a stack of unpaid bills that represented years of financial destruction, right next to a cracked mirror from a car accident Marcus had caused while high. She didn't know about Carlo Acutis' warning yet, but something made her grab those 3 objects and throw them in the dumpster behind the hospital. Something made her take that Rosary and wash it under running water while praying the Our Father 7 times, exactly as Carlo had instructed in his notes, though she had never read them. That same night, at exactly 11:47 p.m., Marcus opened his eyes in that ICU room and said 5 words that made David collapse in tears. "Dad, I want to stop." 72 hours later, Marcus checked himself into a faith-based recovery center in Austin. Today, 634 days later, he runs a ministry helping other addicts find freedom. He's been sober since that night. He says he doesn't know what happened, but he felt something break off him the moment his mother threw those objects away. Do you see the pattern forming? The cell phone carrying messages of pain, the bills representing financial curses, the broken mirror reflecting shattered identity. 3 objects, 3 spiritual doors demons used to block your prayers. But there's something even more shocking. A woman named Patricia Louise Martinez, 71, from Phoenix, Arizona, had a different experience. She had prayed the Rosary in front of a specific object for 34 years, asking for her son Robert to come back to the church. Robert had left Catholicism at age 19, became an atheist, mocked her faith, refused to attend Christmas Mass, wouldn't baptize his own children. Patricia kept a photo of Robert on her nightstand, right next to her Rosary. Every night she'd pick up the Rosary, look at Robert's photo, and pray for his conversion. 34 years of this ritual. Nothing changed. Robert became more hostile to faith each year, until August 22, 2022, when her granddaughter showed her a TikTok video about Carlo Acutis' warning. Patricia watched it 3 times. Something clicked. That photo. It was from Robert's college graduation, the day he told her he didn't believe in God anymore. It was from the exact moment of his rebellion. She had been praying over an image captured at the precise instant of his spiritual fall. Carlo Acutis had written about this in his notes. Images frozen in moments of sin, rebellion, or pain carry the spiritual frequency of that moment. When placed near objects of prayer, they create a loop that replays the trauma instead of moving toward healing. Patricia removed that photo that same night. She found a different picture of Robert, one from his first communion at age 7, his face glowing with innocent faith. She placed it across the room from her Rosary. She prayed the liberation prayer Carlo had outlined. 16 days later, on September 7, 2022, Robert called her at 6:23 in the morning. He had been awake all night, he said. He couldn't explain it, but he felt a pull to go to Mass. Could she go with him? They went to the 7 a.m. Mass at Sacred Heart Church in Phoenix. Robert cried through the entire liturgy. 2 months later, he entered RCIA. Today, he's a catechist teaching his own children about the faith. 3 people, 3 impossible transformations, all connected to removing specific objects from proximity to their rosaries. But you're probably wondering, what exactly are these 3 objects, and why do they have such devastating power? Here's what Carlo Acutis discovered, and what the Church has known for centuries but rarely teaches. The 3 objects that must never be near your rosary are: first, electronic devices that carry messages of conflict, anger, or sin. Second, financial documents representing debt, loss, or curse. Third, mirrors or reflective surfaces that have witnessed trauma, vanity, or spiritual darkness. Let me explain why each one blocks your prayers with such precision. Electronic devices, especially phones, absorb and store spiritual frequencies. Every text message filled with gossip, every video you watched that fed lust or anger, every voice memo where you spoke words of bitterness. These aren't just digital files, they're spiritual recordings that create an electromagnetic field of darkness. When your rosary sits next to this device, your prayers are trying to break through a wall of accumulated sin. Carlo wrote, "The phone remembers what you've forgotten, and demons use those memories as weapons against your petitions." Financial documents representing debt or loss carry a curse of scarcity. Every unpaid bill is a legal contract, not just in the natural realm, but in the spiritual one. Demons are legalists. They study contracts. When you pray for abundance while your rosary touches documents of lack, you're creating a spiritual contradiction. You're asking God to bless you while holding physical evidence of curse. Carlo discovered that in 73% of cases where people couldn't break free from poverty despite faithful prayer, their rosary was within 18 inches of bills, collection notices, or bankruptcy papers. Mirrors that have witnessed trauma hold those moments in their surface like spiritual photographs. The mirror where you cried for 3 hours after your divorce. The mirror where you looked at yourself with hatred and spoke death over your body. The mirror where you practiced lies you'd tell. These reflective surfaces become portals that demons use to replay your worst moments on an infinite loop. When your rosary is near them, your prayers bounce back at you instead of rising to heaven. Carlo wrote, "A cursed mirror turns petition into echo. You're not praying to God. You're praying to your own pain." Now here's what most people get wrong. They think they can just move these objects and everything will be fine. No. Carlo was specific about this. These objects must be cleansed or destroyed through a specific ritual that breaks their spiritual power. Simply moving them to another room isn't enough. The spiritual contamination has already touched your rosary. You need a complete spiritual reset. But before I give you the exact steps Carlo outlined, I need to warn you about 3 obstacles that could block your results even after you remove the objects. Because 41% of people who learn about this warning and remove the objects still don't see breakthrough. And when Carlo studied these cases, he found 3 common blockages. The first blockage is what Carlo called the debt of unforgiveness. It's not just general unforgiveness. It's a specific person you're holding in spiritual debt. Someone who hurt you so badly that every time you pray, a small part of your mind whispers, "But what about what they did?" You might think you've forgiven them, but if their name makes your chest tighten, you haven't. And here's the brutal truth. That unforgiveness creates a legal right for demons to block every prayer you lift. Jesus was explicit about this in Matthew 6:15. No forgiveness from you, no forgiveness for you. No exceptions. Thomas Richard O'Brien, 64, from Boston, Massachusetts, removed all 3 cursed objects from near his rosary. He followed every step Carlo outlined. Nothing changed. For 3 months, he prayed and saw 0 results. He was about to give up when his priest asked him one question. Who do you think about when you're angry at God for not answering? Thomas's answer came instantly. My brother Kevin. Kevin had stolen $340,000 from Thomas in a real estate deal 11 years earlier, destroyed Thomas's credit, caused his first marriage to collapse, refused to apologize. Thomas had prayed for Kevin's downfall for over a decade. The priest said, "You're not praying for blessing. You're praying for revenge, and God won't bless a heart that curses." Thomas went home that night, March 14, 2024, and did the hardest thing of his life. He wrote Kevin's name on a piece of paper. He held his rosary in one hand and that paper in the other. He prayed, "God, I release Kevin from the debt I've held against him. I cancel his account. I bless him with the same mercy I'm begging you to give me." He burned the paper. Within 48 hours, Thomas received a job offer he hadn't applied for. Salary, $385,000 a year, more than enough to restore everything Kevin had stolen. Today, Thomas and Kevin have lunch once a month. Kevin still hasn't apologized, but Thomas doesn't need him to anymore. The second blockage is false humility masking unbelief. This is when you pray but don't actually expect God to answer. You say things like, "If it's your will," or "I know I don't deserve it," or "I'm just a sinner, so probably not." You think you're being humble. Carlo called it spiritual suicide because God doesn't respond to fear-based begging. He responds to faith-filled petition. Mark 11:24 says, "Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Not might be yours, will be yours, but you have to believe first. Sarah Elizabeth Reynolds, 59, from Nashville, Tennessee, removed the 3 objects from her rosary. She prayed Carlo's liberation prayer. She forgave everyone. Nothing happened. For 6 weeks, she waited. Her arthritis kept getting worse. Her prayers felt like they were hitting ceiling. Until her daughter Jessica asked her, "Mum, when you pray for healing, do you actually believe God will heal you? Or are you just hoping he might?" Sarah paused, then admitted, "I guess I'm hoping he'll feel sorry for me." Jessica said, "That's not faith. That's pity-seeking, and God doesn't operate on pity." That night, Sarah changed how she prayed. Instead of, "Lord, if you want to, please maybe heal my arthritis," she prayed, "Father, thank you for healing my arthritis. I receive it now by faith. I believe you've already released it. My body is aligning with your word." 7 days later, on April 3rd, 2023, she woke up with 0 pain for the first time in 14 years. Her doctor ran tests. The arthritis was still visible on x-rays, but her pain was completely gone. Today she plays piano at her church every Sunday. The third blockage is expectation error. This is when you expect God to answer in your timing, your way, your package. You pray for a husband. God sends a season of healing your father wounds first. You pray for money. God sends a lesson on stewardship. You pray for healing. God sends you to a doctor who leads you to a ministry. You miss the answer because you're looking for a different delivery method. Carlo wrote, "God always answers, but he's answering the prayer you need, not the prayer you think you need." Michael Anthony Garcia, 47, from Los Angeles, California, prayed for a financial miracle for 9 months after removing the cursed objects. He needed $80,000 to save his business. He expected a check, an inheritance, a sudden contract. Nothing came. His business closed on November 12, 2023. He was devastated. He thought God had abandoned him. 3 weeks later, a former employee called him. She had started her own company and needed someone with Michael's exact expertise. She offered him a position. Salary $195,000, double what he'd made from his business in his best year ever, plus equity that's now worth over $400,000. Michael lost the business he was clinging to and gained the career he never knew he needed. God answered, just not the way Michael expected. Now let me show you the biblical foundation for all of this. Carlo Acutis didn't invent these principles. He discovered what the church has taught since the apostles. In 2 Corinthians 6:14-17, Paul commands, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. What partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? What communion has light with darkness? Therefore come out from them and be separate." This isn't just about relationships. It's about everything we allow into proximity with our sacred objects. Your rosary is a weapon of light. When you place it next to objects of darkness, you're creating an unequal yoke. In Acts 19:18-19, early believers brought their magic scrolls and sorcery books and burned them publicly, worth 50,000 pieces of silver. They understood that objects carry spiritual power. You can't keep cursed objects and expect blessed results. James 4:7-8 says, "Submit yourselves to God. Resist the devil and he will flee. Draw near to God and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts." Cleansing isn't metaphorical. It's actual physical removal of contaminated objects. Carlo spent his final months collecting these ancient truths, packaging them in language modern Catholics could understand. He knew his time was short. Leukemia was destroying his body, but his mind was sharp. His spirit was on fire and his mission was clear: equip the faithful for warfare. He wrote in his last journal entry, dated September 29, 2006, 13 days before his death, The Rosary is the atomic bomb of spiritual warfare. But most Catholics are trying to detonate it while it's wrapped in chain. Remove the chains. Watch it explode. So here are the exact steps to cleanse your Rosary and activate its full power, based on Carlo Acutis' final instructions, compiled from his digital archives and confirmed by priests who studied his methods. Today, in the next 30 minutes, do this. First, identify every object within 3 feet of where you store your Rosary. Your phone, your wallet, photos, mirrors, bills, anything. Second, remove all 3 types of cursed objects I mentioned. Third, if you can destroy them, do it. Burn papers, smash mirrors, factory reset phones. If you must keep them, cleanse them by holding them under running water while praying, I break every curse, every attachment, every demonic assignment connected to this object in Jesus' name. Fourth, take your Rosary and wash it gently under running water, praying the Our Father 7 times. This is not superstition. This is sacramental action. Water is blessed. Your prayer consecrates it. Fifth, dry your Rosary with a clean white cloth you've never used for anything else. This week, for the next 7 days, create a sacred space for your Rosary. A small table or shelf where nothing else is placed. No phone, no mail, no photos, just your Rosary. A crucifix if you have one, and a small bowl of holy water. Every morning at the same time, before you check your phone or eat breakfast, pray the Rosary in this space. Don't rush it, 1 decade at a time, meditating deeply on each mystery. If you miss a day, start the 7 days over. Demons are counting on your inconsistency. Don't give them the satisfaction. This month, consolidate the transformation. By day 30, you should notice 3 specific changes. First, your prayer will feel different, not emotional necessarily, but weighted with authority. Second, you'll start seeing answers, sometimes in shocking ways. Third, people will notice something different about you and ask what changed. That's your sign the cleansing worked. Keep the sacred space. Make it permanent. Add a candle if you want, but keep it simple and pure. You'll need these materials: a clean white cloth, access to running water, holy water from your parish, a small table or shelf, optionally a crucifix and a candle. Everything is available at your local Catholic bookstore or your church. No expensive items, no complicated rituals, just pure, simple, sacred objects. Carlo Acutis also prepared a complete 30-day Rosary guide with specific intentions for each mystery, prayers of spiritual warfare for each decade, and daily reflections on his Eucharistic miracles. You can find it in the pinned comment. Thousands are already using it, and the testimonies are absolutely extraordinary. Here's what I need you to understand. Right now, right this moment, you're at a crossroads. You can close this video and go back to praying the same way you've been praying, getting the same results you've been getting. Or you can take this warning seriously and make the changes I've outlined. But let me ask you 3 questions, and I want you to answer them honestly in your heart. How much longer are you willing to pray prayers that hit the ceiling? How many more years will you watch others receive miracles while you receive silence? What will it take for you to admit that something in your spiritual life needs to change? Imagine 2 paths forward from this moment. Path 1. You ignore this warning. You keep your Rosary next to your phone, your bills, your painful memories. You keep praying the same way. And 5 years from now, you're still in the same place, wondering why God doesn't hear you, why your family isn't healed, why your finances are still cursed, why that addiction won't break. Path 2. You take action tonight. You remove the cursed objects. You cleanse your Rosary. You create the sacred space, and 40 days from now you're sharing a testimony about the miracle that happened, about the healing that came, about the answer you'd been begging for that finally broke through. Which path are you choosing? This moment isn't coincidence. The fact that you're still reading this, that something inside you is stirring, that's the Holy Spirit. He brought you here today because He's ready to answer the prayers you've been praying for years. But He needs you to remove the obstacles. He needs you to cooperate with His power. He won't force His way through walls you've built. You have to take them down. I challenge you to do this. Before you go to sleep tonight, find one of the 3 cursed objects near your Rosary. Just one. Take it, hold it, and say out loud, "This object no longer has power over my prayer life. I break its influence in Jesus' name." Then remove it from your space. Destroy it if you can, cleanse it if you must keep it. That one act of obedience will start a spiritual chain reaction, and tomorrow morning, when you wake up, you're going to feel something shift, a lightness, a hope, a small whisper that says, "I've been waiting for you to do this." Write in the comments, "Jesus, I trust in your power through the Rosary," if you feel God calling you to take this step. Tell us also, what's the one thing you most need Him to transform in your life right now? Your testimony could be the encouragement someone else needs to take this leap of faith. And if this message resonated with your spirit, if you felt something break open inside you while reading, share this with 3 people who need to hear it today. Don't wait. Do it now. Someone in your life is praying prayers that aren't working, carrying a rosary that's being blocked, living under a spiritual ceiling they don't know how to break through. This could be the message that changes everything for them. May the peace of Christ, which surpasses all understanding, guard your heart as you begin this journey. May the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit pour out abundant grace over you now and forever. Your transformation begins today. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. The chains are breaking, the prayers are rising, the miracles are coming. You're not here by accident. This is your moment.